Everybody, welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen, another Friday Facts edition. We are going to be talking about relationships with the IPs. We have a couple of guests with us, so let us start with Grace. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Grace. I am a second-time surrogate on a sibling journey in California.
I'm Rachel, and I'm a second-time surrogate as well. In Nevada, actually moved from California to Nevada, and hopefully I have a baseline tomorrow. Well, when this goes out, I don't know when that is, but tomorrow, whichever
It's all
tomorrow,
good. So
the
this
27th.
so earlier this week, Monday, or no, Tuesday, Rachel had a baseline.
Yeah.
It's a
When this
big
goes
week for
out.
both of us.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause
Yeah.
Race. Okay, this is airing Friday. I hate this. I feel like it's like the Ellen show. So this is airing Friday, but Grace's transfer was Wednesday. So it's coming up.
Really?
Yes.
The 28th.
Wait,
Yes.
this Wednesday.
Yeah.
Girl, I
This
thought it was last
Wednesday.
week. Oh, this Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
Mine's is on the 12th, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I feel like we
So,
were on the same week this last time, so we've got all the
And
luck.
you were, yeah. I'm hoping, girl. My first transfer didn't go so well. So
That wasn't
preparing.
on you.
I know.
We know where that
So,
lies.
so
But
you're doing a sibling journey, Grace. Then your
I know.
relationship must be pretty good. with your
yeah.
IPs.
I feel like I have an amazing relationship with my intended parents. We used an agency, so I did not know them prior to going into it, but I would consider them family
Oh,
now. It's like I have family in Israel. They are international, so
Israel.
I love hearing people's IP stories. I feel like
So cool.
there's some that are super close, but it seems like those that are really super close. I think there was one I heard on the podcast where they live next to each other now, like the parent moved to be closer.
Right.
But your couple
Um,
Yes.
being international, you have a really like their family. You're able to connect that well.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
we got to establish our, and I think that's part of going into it. Like you set the tone for what the relationship might be like when you're
Mhm.
doing your match call, hopefully. So we talked about that during our match call and what we wanted our relationship to look like. And the ideal situation that I had in my mind going into it was like Facebook friends. Like
Okay.
you see what's going on in their lives, but you don't necessarily talk all the time.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't want to put that pressure on anybody that I'm looking to be their clingy new best friend.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we went into it that way and decided it would be whatever it would organically be, but that we were open to having a relationship where we talk fairly often. We use WhatsApp,
Yeah.
and I would say the times that we've communicated the least, we stay in touch like every other week. And then
Oh,
when we're communicating the most, it's like every day.
nice.
But
So you had mentioned something though, Grace, is that you guys kind of talked about your relationship in a match call, like in the match call. So because it can go both ways. Everybody's putting on on their interview, gear and face and everything. And so would you say that that's set that truly set the foundation for your relationship? Like that was important for it and you guys were truthful and honest and it just blossomed from there?
yeah, I feel like we were, and I could see how maybe if there were some hurdles in our relationship, like if there were more of a language barrier. Luckily, both of my intended parents speak fairly good English, one of them a little bit better than the other, but collectively they speak good English. So I think that that makes it easier for us to communicate. So knowing myself, I could see how I might have gone into it, even if there was a hurdle like that, like a language barrier, or we have a time difference. But if there was more of a time difference or something like that, I would say, yeah, of course, I want to communicate all the time. And then it might become more difficult. But one thing I love that we got into when we were having our match call was they asked a lot of questions and they really wanted to get to know me. And I think that that made me feel really safe with them. And I think that that lent itself really well and made me feel like they were being very honest with where they were coming from with the relationship that they wanted. But we've we've been able to maintain it really well, and I didn't think that they were putting up a front or anything.
And that's great because I know that you guys have had some hurdles. You guys have
Right.
had some not
We've
so
had
happy
ups and
things.
downs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
that
had
could make or break a relationship if
Can derail.
people don't communicate well, or because things can be misinterpreted. So I think it's a fantastic. I love your story. I think it's awesome, and that you get to do a sibling journey. I think that's just so fun. It's exciting. Rachel, so because this is your second couple, right? So how was your first couple relationship?
My first couple relationship is actually freaking amazing. I still get pictures of the twins. And they're like, anytime you want to come to France, just come on down and
Oh my
we'll
gosh.
hang out and stuff like that. And it's like, I think what really set it off, because at first I wasn't able to like share them on social media and all of that stuff, but like when they came down here, I was able to share. And I think with IPs, it's kind of like, well, we don't really want to be on social media until like we know for sure like things are gonna work out. But I think after we met, it was kind of like sealed the deal for us. And it was just like, it was nice. They have a picture of me holding the twins, and the dads are in the photo in the nursery. Well, it's not a nursery anymore. They're about to be 3. So, but yeah, so they call me Auntie, which is really cute. So I'm like, I miss them. I miss the IPs more than I miss the twins. You know what I mean? Because I grew a bond with my IPs.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of like, I can't wait to see them again. So, but
How
it
did
was nice to have that first like nice journey, because I know
Yeah.
sometimes people don't have the best journey the first time. So it was like
Yeah.
I was really fortunate enough to really grow that bond with them, and them meeting my family and all that stuff.
What did you walk into surrogacy with, like, in your head as like, oh, relationship wise?
I want that relationship of that bond, you know what I mean? Like I always like to get close to people, and I want that because we're going on this intimate relationship like journey together. So I want us to be connected and be like family, you know what I mean? But it's not like I don't want to like force it on anybody, but that's kind of like how I want it to be. I don't want it to be like a transactional thing, and I want us, to grow, because we're taking all this time and this energy and this effort to bring a family, reunite a family, and it takes a lot. And they're like, you want to trust that person, but it's like at the same time, you're like, well, if they're not kind of building that bond, how can I really like trust that person? You know what I mean? But when you build that bond, then it's more easier to go into trust mode. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's interesting, both of you have done international journeys only, right?
I know, yeah. It would be interesting to do sorry, my
Stateside.
dog, y'all. Um
domestic.
it'd be
Stateside.
interesting to
Domestic.
do yeah, a domestic journey for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Could go
think
either way.
international, I think maybe I hate to even say this because I didn't do an international one, but I think there's a little bit more of a, we need to stay in touch. We need to be doing that because it is international and they can't come for appointments and they can't come. But the domestic ones too, sometimes I had one, I think Kennedy had one, the relationships just didn't go that well. No matter what you wanted them to go like and how you felt you wanted them to go like, and you thought you were putting your heart out there and you just got crushed and you were like, well, shoot, I'm putting my walls up.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
sad. Super
I can't
sad.
imagine that
Right? It's
would be
sad.
so hard.
It's interesting, and because like Mom, I don't know if you experienced it in the match call. Like with my match call with my not great journey, there weren't really any red flags at the moment. The only one was one small thing that I had said like I didn't want to do, and they said, "Oh, that's no problem." So I kind of thought, okay, we moved on. The agency heard it. They took note, like everything like that. Clearly it didn't work out like that. But looking back at it, like there were not a lot of red flags. It was in the middle of COVID. They spoke very professional, clean cut, very kind, very interested to get to know me, my mom, my kid, like. And then as the journey went forward, a lot of restrictions were put on us that none of us could see, and I think that that just caused a lot of friction. But like my mom just said, like there, no matter how hard you try sometimes to be like, hey, so COVID has these rules, but like why don't we go to like a coffee, like why don't we get coffee separately, but we can meet at the park and we can stay socially distanced, and we can do this like once a month, and like we could go to a 4D ultrasound so that way you could be in the room to see it's just you constantly are offering. And maybe you're offering both sides, right? Because I can only speak to a surrogate side. So maybe intended parents also offer too. And just once that wall is just up, it is up for good. It
Hard
is
to break it down. Yeah.
Great Wall of China, like
Mhm.
not going down.
And a couple decades ago, there weren't match calls. You met them in person for the first time. And I did it on all three. You literally went to the agency, you sat down, they had a special room, and the agency was with you. Like they literally sat there with you. Somebody, it usually was the psych or somebody who was like real top of the agency. And you all just like had to meet in person. So like you're like, oh God, do I smell okay? Do I look okay? Do I like it was nerve-wracking.
I would have been sweating bullets. Just
Yeah, is nerve-wracking. And your spouse, if you had a spouse, which I did, had to come to the match.
Had
meeting.
to.
Had to come.
Interesting.
And I just remember all three of them, best behavior, just, and I just could, and then they set you off to lunch. Okay, go to lunch. This agency's going to stay here. You all go to lunch, you four. Okay. Now you're eating in front of people you don't even know. You're talking to people in front. You're trying to, but every single one of them was awkward. Every single one of them. And then after those match in-person meetings, the one couple that started to really do the bonding was the triplet dads. I mean, they were constant texting, emailing, calling on the phone. This was even before we were pregnant. And the other ones, not so much. And I think I just felt like, okay, well, they're not interested. Do I need to be reaching out? It was difficult, really difficult.
I have a question because this is more common than I thought. So, Mom, you said that they were texting you before you guys were even pregnant. Does that mean that you guys were texting before contracts?
Yes.
Okay, Grace and
emailing.
Rachel, were you guys texting before contracts?
Yeah.
My first journey, well, I think my IPs were like, we stalked your page on Facebook. I was like, oh, okay. So you guys care. You guys care a little bit. Okay. But before contracts, I don't think so. But I think it depends on the circumstances for IPs and the surrogate situation. So I feel like this journey I was able to just because of kind of how long it's been.
Yeah, been long. Yeah.
So, but we didn't talk like, yeah, that's the whole situation. I'm not, yeah. So,
I'm pretty sure I did a FaceTime. Oh,
before contracts. Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we got to do like we were on WhatsApp, and I think we had set up a FaceTime before we even got to do contracts. But I don't think there were any questions that we weren't going to sign contracts, and I got medically cleared before we got matched. So I
Me
think
too.
that made things more confident.
For sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I've last summer or whatever, there are some agencies that I have found that don't allow you to talk until after contracts. So there's no relationship forming. You meet and it could be like 3 months until contracts are signed and you're not talking. You're not allowed to reach out. You're not allowed to do all these things, which to me sounds crazy. And like, I'm like, at this point, knowing what I know, I'm like, yeah, no, if that's how you're going to run it, then I'm not gonna do it. I get the whole point of like, oh, maybe I get the whole point of not talking until after med clearance because you don't want to give anybody false hope.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it would depend on how far after med clearance is from the time that you talk. Because like, oh my gosh, Rachel, imagine if like you didn't talk to them before, like all like I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
it would.
crazy.
You
Yeah, it
can't be
would
super
be
best
hard.
friends, right? Right after, like, just, oh, you're matched. Okay, now you keep all relationships, even if you're meeting somebody, a coworker for the very first time, you have to forge and cultivate those relationships. So I don't, I don't quite agree that you
Yeah.
can't talk
I
or
feel like I would at least want like a moderated email exchange. Like
something.
if I could
Yeah.
send an email to the agency and then they
Mhm.
send it on my
Mm,
behalf to the parents and we can have like a moderated
sure.
one in that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
something.
But
Hmm.
makes me think of, I don't want to say old school online dating, but I
I
met
know.
my husband when Match.com was pretty new
Okay.
and we exchanged emails like that, like through Match. So maybe
Okay.
something like
Interesting.
that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When so when it came time to like kind of like developing your guys' relationship, especially since you two were international. I mean, my first two were international too, so I can relate on the same level. But how did you guys form a relationship such long distance? Because I think maybe a lot of people might be scared to do international for that reason if they want to bond. But I mean, look at the both of you,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think that it's partly how the agency sets up their profile and how
Mm.
they get presented to you. I think that kind of can lay a little bit of the foundation. Like, I have no idea what other agencies' profiles look like, but
Yeah.
mine included like their background on how they met, how long they've been together, what kind of family they're wanting to build, what like their long-term family goals are that they had wanted a sibling in the future. And it had a lot of pictures in it of different kinds. And I think that that gave us something to kind of connect on.
Mhm.
And I think that led to questions that they asked in the match call because to for get to know you part, they asked questions about what they had seen in my
Mm.
profile pictures. Like, oh, we saw that you had mouse ears on in like three of your pictures. Do you
Aw.
guys go to
Mhm.
Disneyland? So we talked about Disneyland and then we just exchanged messages. How are you today? What are you doing today? What are your plans this weekend? How are your kids?
Mm.
Things like that.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
Rachel, how about you?
I did same thing, kind of like messaging and all that stuff, kind of what we're doing, and kind of pictures of the kids because kind of feel like visuals and videos are kind of nice to see, So I would send them pictures of me and my daughter sometimes, and videos and all of that stuff, and they enjoyed it. So I think it was kind of also nice. So when they came down, they kind of got a sense of personality with the family and the kids and stuff like that. But pretty much kind of just sending them videos of the bump and all of that stuff, the kicking, and kind of trying to get them involved. And that's why I was going to actually say, Ellen, because for you,
Mm.
you didn't do international. So how was
Mm.
like was it kind of the same thing, or they came to appointments?
They did come. Yeah, they came to appointments, but the first journey I did, and I won't elaborate on it, but they came as an obligation. They would fly it. It was a 2,500-mile trip. They flew out in the morning, one of them, came to the appointment, got right back on the plane and flew home. So there was no lunch. We didn't get coffee. We didn't get a snack. We didn't get to sit and talk. It was just the appointment and they were out. And they did that religiously every time I had an appointment, every time. And I just knew that it just wasn't going to cultivate. I even said, "Hey, could you stay today and do lunch?" "Oh no, got a flight back." And so I just knew it wasn't going anywhere. And then the triplets was the second one. It was way different. And then the third one, they That one, yeah, that one was a little different. The relationship was going good in the beginning, and then we lost a twin, and there was blame game, and there was all of that. So it broke apart, and there was nobody to help us repair it. And that was sad. That was Now there's support groups, and there's your now I had a psychological person, right? I had a counselor, but the caseload they have is huge. And I don't even get a call from her after that happened. It was we were out there to just deal with it on our own. So I just don't feel that
Did
enough was done,
did your
supported.
triplets,
Yeah.
did the dads come to appointments for that?
They came for some of them. I mean,
Not
they
all.
both
Okay.
worked. They came
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
some. They didn't come when we found out the gender, because the
Okay.
scheduling didn't. So I called them on the phone afterwards, and they wouldn't allow. Like, I don't even think we had video capability at
Probably
that
not.
point. Yeah. So I just called them afterwards and did it that way. But that relationship, Gracie said something on the profiles. Their profile jumped off the page at me. Like, I have to work with this couple. Please don't let anybody else have them. I want them, because I had like 6 profiles, and it just kept going back to that one. I'm like, I have to. And the other ones, the one was handed to me. It's like, this is who you're going to work with. That was the first one. And the third one was, all right, I'll pick this one. Okay, they seem local. We'll do it, because I wanted very, very local, and they were. But it didn't go as planned.
Mm.
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, feel
Not with
that.
children.
So
Yeah,
maybe
right.
part of it is luck.
I think
Maybe,
so.
yeah. And I really think maybe the heartache that the couple has been through, or maybe their struggle to get to, or their journey to get to this point, they're just reserved. They
Yeah.
can't open up anymore, because they've been so hurt, and not by you, but by other things that have happened to them.
Mhm.
And I just don't know how much of that is given or shared.
Right.
Because why
Mhm.
share it if you're not going to be a couple? Like, if you're not going to be helping them? I don't know. I just think what you guys get to now, with all the help and all the support, even the face group, the not Facebook, support groups that you guys go through, and the like the relationships you form with each other.
Mhm.
Didn't have it. Didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also helps to see other relationships and how they work out and how they turn out and what they're doing.
Yep.
Because for me, it's nice to see my Soro sisters like getting to hang out with their IPs. Like, I've never got the chance to do that, just because they're international. And yeah, so it's kind of just like, I only get to hang out with them when they come down for
Yeah.
delivery, and then they're
Right.
here for like what, a month, maybe
Yeah.
less, and then they're gone, you know?
Forever.
So it's pretty much, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for real. So it's kind of just like, definitely different types of relationships out there for sure, you know? But I know there are some IPs that fly out to see their surrogates as well, which is
Mhm.
really nice to see. So I'm just like, I don't know. I think that maybe it would be nice to do, domestic, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, how would it be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Yeah. I felt the same way, Rachel. And then I was like, maybe I could stick with just international. Like,
right. Because
but
it's like, are they gonna be like nitpicky? Are they gonna like
Mm.
always be there? It's gonna be like,
right. Are
you
they
know what
gonna
I
pop
mean?
up at
Like,
your
it's kind of,
Close.
house because they live so close? Granted, they didn't do
yeah,
that to me, but
Yeah.
they could have.
yeah, yeah.
They
So
could
that's
have.
where it's kind of just like, it'd be cool to have someone that you could see all the
Mhm.
time and
Yeah.
go visit or something, if you guys
Yeah.
end up having that good relationship. But then it's like,
But then it's
in the
like, if
new,
you don't have that good relationship and you live that close
Mhm.
and you run into each other at like Walmart, like,
Can be stressful.
yeah,
yeah,
it could just be a lot of stress. I speak from experience, but
Hmm.
yeah.
yeah.
One thing
But
I like about what you said, Rachel, or just made me think, they're only here, like the international parents are really only here when they come to get their baby.
Mhm.
And one thing I think is cool about that is I don't think I'll ever forget one moment of the things that we got to do together while the parents were here, versus I worry, if I saw them all the time, what if I did forget some of those times that we got to spend together?
Oh,
Yeah,
That's a good
I
way to
think
look
it makes
at
it that much special
Mhm.
too, you
It
know?
does.
And it's just like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
But I think what solidified it for me was the fact that, because if you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys all followed this journey. I nicknamed the twins Jack and Sally.
Mhm.
And after birth, they gave me their birth certificates with their names on it. And they used those names for their middle names. And I was just like,
Oh my
Oh my
gosh, how
god. I got
sweet.
chills. I already knew that, but I got
yeah,
chills.
yeah. And I was just like, what in the world? Those are just nicknames, but it was a lot.
That's
You know,
sweet.
it's the little things like that, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of like a speechless thing because you're just really like, they really did do that. You know what I mean? Because like at the end of the day, you still kind of like, did I do enough? Did I, you know what I mean? And like, but it's like things like that, that little really like, okay, I did
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Like we really built a bond, you know? Because
Yeah.
like you said, Kennedy, people could be lying on those
Mhm.
freaking match meetings, you know?
They
So
can. It's hard not like I feel like it should be like a game show thing and like a red flag should just like pop up in the background with like neon colors because it would be so much easier, but it's so hard to differentiate like are they because you want it so bad. Both sides I think want it so bad that it's hard to you don't want to think that somebody's going into it with false statements or not the whole truth or
Not the best intentions.
yeah, like why would you want to think that? And but the sad truth is that sometimes is it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And you know, it's nice to hear the nicer stories more often than it is to hear the crazy stories, even
And don't
though
you think there are the more nicer stories and the nice
yeah.
relationships? Like, I don't know what the split would be, but I really think they're minute of the
I'd say
negative
maybe like
stories.
90-10. I'd say
Yeah,
90 great and
that's
like
probably where I was
10
going. Yeah,
probably
yeah.
not.
mhm,
But
yeah.
I don't know.
It's just at the end of the day,
We
though,
learn.
it's like even if it's bad, you're still like, I always try to tell people, like, even though it may have turned out bad, they always still gonna remember you in the back of
Yeah,
their head
Totally.
because when they look at them freaking kiddos, they're gonna be
ugh,
like, even though if they're trying to like forget about you, it's still gonna be there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
I would be happy if my third couple forgot about me. I think that'd be great. Like it's okay. I
girl,
got this
your
thing
situation a
too.
whole different situation, okay?
I know, but still, but so like, okay, so, but you still talk. So we I think we already talked about this. Rachel, you still talk to your first couple, right?
hmm
Pretty much. And Grace, you're going on another journey with your
Mhm.
first couple, and Mom, you only talk to
Triplets,
the triplets.
second journey, right?
Okay, yeah. And I keep in touch with my two international couples periodically. Like I definitely get messages on their birthdays. But as they're getting older, they're getting busier and one of them has a sibling now, so they're all they're all busy with their
Aw.
lives. Yeah, I
And
know.
since my triplets are adults now, they're, in
Yeah.
20, what are they, 21? Um, they send messages on my birthday.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my God, this is so
Aw.
weird. Yeah. And I just had
Yeah,
a birthday. So yeah.
I was gonna ask what if you guys hear from the kids at all. Like
I
Rachel
do.
said they're gonna be 3.
Oh,
Do they chat with you at all?
Not yet. They kind of just only send pictures, but I think they're kind of because I think they're learning French. So kind of teaching them, little ones English and French will kind of be kind of hard, But I think eventually one day, but I do want to go see them. I do want to plan a trip. So
That'd be
like
fun.
it'll be exciting.
That'd be
I
So
want
fun.
to as well, but now's not the time to go to Israel, unfortunately.
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
And this may not be, but I was thinking about when you said Israel, I was like, oh gosh, like, are they going to be able to get here? And let's assuming transfer works and 9 months from now, baby comes and they're going to be able to come and then get back home. Like,
Yeah, they should be able to.
okay.
At least with
That's
current
crazy.
state, they should be able to.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, I got a question.
What up?
So, how does your for Grace? Sorry. Well, how does your how does like, I would love to do a sibling journey, but my first IPs, they're like, we got two big old handfuls already. We're good. Uh, so how does the process work? Does it go faster since you guys are like already like know each other and all of that stuff? Like, does the process move faster?
I would say this one has been slower. The initial starting process was about the same amount of
Mhm.
time.
Okay.
We knew coming out of the first journey that we wanted to pursue a sibling journey if all things lined up on both sides and we weren't feeling pressured either way. So I gave them, I waited till the baby was 9 months and then I let them know, you know, I want to start planning my future in surrogacy. You're the only IPs I can see for me right now. And would you be willing to get started here fairly soon? Or do you have any idea as to when you would be ready? And they said, Yes, we want to, but we're not quite ready yet. Can you give us some time?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah. How much time do you think?" And they said, "Do you think you can do a month?" And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, yeah, absolutely."
so sweet.
Yes. So they got back to me a month later and said that they were ready to get the ball rolling, and we made sure things were all good with the agency that they were, because we use the same agency, so we made sure they were ready to get us started, and that was in, I wanna say that was in September of 2022,
Mhm.
and we signed contracts in late November, like, right before Thanksgiving
That was
of
quick.
2022,
Very
and then
quick.
we had our transfer in March of 2023.
Okay.
Pretty fast.
Wow.
That's not as quick as I thought it would be.
No, it's about the
Yeah.
same amount of time as it was the first
Yeah.
time. The first time we matched in July,
Okay.
and then we had our transfer in, well, we didn't sign contracts until I think around the same time, like around Thanksgiving, and our
Oh,
transfer was in February of 2021.
wow. Yeah, so kind of like the same time frame.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Hmm.
Like, I would think they would kind of just speed it along,
I
kind of
know.
get people and all that stuff,
But it's all
you
good.
know. Yeah.
I thought so too, but
Yeah.
I was patient.
Yeah, because I was just like, you already know each other, so do you really have to go through the matching and all that
Right.
stuff? Like,
The only
you
thing
know?
that we didn't redo was the psych evaluation. We had it
Mhm.
put in our contract that we
Okay.
could utilize the first psych evaluation.
Got it.
That's
Like
nice.
the agency had some
Oh.
in-depth questions for me going into it,
Hmm.
but we were able to keep that since it hadn't been too long since the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool, because that would be kind of tedious, and then,
Is there
you know.
is there any advice you guys can give to surrogates who might be starting this for the first time or going on a different journey, not a sibling journey, on how to cultivate a relationship with IPs, how to not be in their face, but not be too timid or too standoffish?
That one's kind of hard.
I
I don't know.
know,
It's
I know.
it's
I think just putting yourself out there. We're already putting
Being
ourselves
yourself.
out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Putting yourself out there and not being afraid to be the first one to say something, because what if
Mhm.
they're afraid to be the first one
Right.
to say something?
Totally. Yeah.
And I think just asking questions about everyday life to create conversation. I feel like it's like that when you meet new people for the first
Mhm.
time too, out in
Yeah.
public, face to face. You start by asking them simple questions about themselves and their day to day. And usually, in all great things, there's something that leads to a further conversation
Yeah.
if the relationship is going to go somewhere, and you start finding more about each other and things you have in common, or things that you can candidly debate on without it getting too heated, and
Mhm.
Doesn't all have to
great
be
conversation.
surrogacy related. I think that's
Yeah.
a positive
Yeah.
too. It just doesn't all, because how could it be? Like if that's all you talk about, you're not going to know each other. You're not
Oh
going to
yeah.
Yeah.
go in depth. You're not going to, but maybe some surrogates don't, they're like, well, we're in the surrogacy. Maybe that's all we can talk about. Like there's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of
Yeah.
fear, I
Humanize
think.
yourself. Like
Yeah, exactly.
everybody's a human.
Yeah.
Yep.
But also check your time zones too, because
Yeah.
that can be a little
Yeah.
tricky. So it's kind
Oh,
of like,
man.
oh, okay, so like my good time is their bedtime or something like
Right.
that. So it's
Yeah.
kind of just like you got to figure out that kind of like medium a little bit, when it comes to time zones and stuff. But I don't know, it's kind of hard because I'm kind of like my time zones right now are kind of, but
Yeah.
because I know some IPs they don't like to be shared and all of that stuff. So it's kind of like that's kind of another hard thing too. It's like because you want to share your journey, but you want to be careful what you say because you can't share things about them, but you
That
know
might
what I
be
mean.
something
So
good to ask in the
In the
beginning.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
always ask,
Mhm.
I don't think we talked about that when we had our match call or anything, but I do always ask before I post a picture of anything that isn't me or mine. Like if it's the baby or the ultrasound or anything like that, I always
Yeah.
ask before I post.
Yeah. Like with my first IPs, I still ask like, but I probably will start not posting them anymore just because they're getting older now. And I mean, like, what are the odds something happening to them because they're not over here? But the internet is crazy. So
Yeah, it is.
maybe if I do post them, it will be just like their bodies shoulder down. But yeah, that's another thing. But also ask kind of what kind of communication would you guys like? Would you like every day,
Right.
once a week, just updates, like,
Mhm.
because I know
Yeah.
IPs are still busy too and all of that stuff, and time zones are hard too. So that could be something that you ask kind of just what's the best communication for you guys.
And it's also
So
nice to have something in place. Like with my second couple, they were like, "Hey, we want to FaceTime every Saturday." Okay. Like, and because they are in a different country, they were like, "This is a good time for us. Can we do it between these 3 hours?" And it was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so like I just remember like every Saturday it was like, okay, so if like we didn't talk that week because there was no doctor's appointment or there just wasn't a lot of like baby information, it was more so just like, how you feeling? Like, how's everything going in life? So it was just, even if it was like 15 minutes, I think sometimes it was just a quick catch up and like that's how, but it was nice to have that because they lived so far, so they were putting in the effort and being like, okay, I want to be a part of this, but like we're so far away, so like this is the only way that we can be a part of it. So that was nice.
And some contracts, don't they have where this is the least amount of contact
Mhm.
you need to have? Like,
Yes.
how do you guys feel about that? Like, at
I'm
least you
fine
have
with
to,
that.
yeah, the least amount.
Well, because if I think
In
about it, if I was an IP, I would want to know, like, even, yes, no news is good news, but like at the end of the week, just be like, there's no news. And it's like, okay, great. Like, I still want the news that there's no news,
yeah.
you know?
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm guessing it's all right, but it's like at the same time, like in like some contracts, they're like, oh, you have to ship all of the ultrasounds and pictures and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm just like,
crazy.
oh, yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Like I can't just wait to give it to them when they come down.
Interesting. I
Because shipping
did.
international sometimes is expensive.
Yeah, I kept all
Yeah.
mine in a folder and I gave it to them like at the end. I also made a book for them and stuff. I remember doing that. And that's when I gave them all the sonograms and everything. I mean, I would send pictures through like WeChat and WhatsApp,
Yeah.
but
Right,
tangible
right.
items, I wasn't gonna, I didn't think to ship
You
that.
you were told you had to ship them, Rachel?
Yeah, but not in my first contract. But I think in this one. But I think at the same time, I don't know if it's like a must.
It
So
takes like 2 months to get mail to Israel. So I don't
Oh,
think they would want me to
oh,
ship things and have it
that's
taken.
heck long. And then first of all, the post office sucks anyways, so it might
yeah.
get lost. And then they're
Yeah.
like, what? Then you add freaking photos. You know what I mean?
It's crazy for my second Surro babe for her birthday. I forget which birthday it was. I think it was her second or her third birthday. No, it might have been her first birthday actually. And I sent her like this cute. I should have just bought it off Amazon and had the Amazon over in that country just give it to them because I remember it's like a cute like dog, but like it makes sounds and it's like educational and stuff like that. And I thought it got lost and it took like months to get over there. And then my first IPs I had sent clothes and it never got there. I was
Never.
like,
Yeah.
cool. So like just done shipping things internationally. Thanks though.
Yeah, and I sent something to my first IPs, and then tell me why, like a couple months later, it came back. I was like,
Oh, oh,
It's
what in the
expensive
world?
too.
It's
very.
expensive. It's
I
very expensive.
know. I'm like,
And
it's
that's not,
okay. This stuff ain't cheap. to
is that
ship.
not, that's not reimbursable, right? No.
I don't know.
Mm-mm.
It's
I
never been in
wouldn't
my
think
Well,
so.
contract.
after it was kind of like after my journey, so
Okay.
Gibbs. Yeah, so it was like after my journey. So I did it out of my own pocket. And I'm like,
Huh.
yeah,
It's expensive.
y'all are messed up. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's nice to have nice stories, and then we're not gonna hash out our bad stories. There's a whole podcast on each of those, but they exist, and it's just
How do you deal with them though? Like, what's the best way to deal with them? If you're with us with an agency, did you get your agency involved? Did you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, oh well, the world knows the answer, but
Yeah,
like
I know.
Well, just in case I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I'll hear it.
Did I get my agency involved when my journey hit the fan? Yeah. Were they helpful? No. Was it worth getting them involved? No.
No.
Like the lawyers were involved and they couldn't reconcile it. I'm sure they tried their best. I'm sure I'm not they. I'm gonna say mine. I know mine tried his best. Um, but I mean, we just did a legal webinar this past week, and I was like, oh, where were all of you? Like,
Right. Right.
where are all of you? Because a lot of misinformation out there. So, but obviously, like I do know that there are great agencies out there, and that if you do have trouble, especially after all the people that we've talked to, if you do have trouble, there are resources that you can reach out to and get help with. And now I've seen like it's interesting. Now I've seen that mediation is in contracts. Like, oh, if there's a problem, mediate like you go to mediation. And I'm like, that's an interesting thing. Somebody had just messaged me and they're like, so like I have a mediation in my contract. I was like, for what? Like, and they're like,
I
if
did. I had it in all
you
three
had a
of them
mediation, I've never had that in any of my contracts that you would go to mediation because
before you go and sue them. Yeah. Like you're
well,
like,
before you go, no, like for a problem, just like a problem arises, you
oh,
guys can't talk it out, you go to mediation. Like,
oh God,
isn't that kind of crazy?
that's a little weird.
Also nice to know that it's in there and there's a process
Yeah.
Right.
if there is a unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
Correct. Because I'm kind of like, gosh darn, kind of wish that was in my last one. Like,
Hmm.
so it's interesting, but I think people are figuring it out as time goes on that I mean, you hope for the best and expect, well, I hate that saying you hope for the best and expect the worst, but like hope for the best and know the worst. I think like know what can happen because that's how you are able to protect yourself.
Don't have any hidden
Yeah.
agendas. Just,
Yeah, be you.
yeah, be you.
I think that's
I
Yeah.
guess
Believe they'll be them. And it's a very, I think Grace said it, intimate relationship. Like it's a relationship you're not going to have with anybody else like this.
no.
It's hard at times. Sometimes they're great, and then sometimes you're like, I can't peel back the onion layers. I'm having a hard time peeling it back, getting to know them. But like I said before, maybe it's because they just have their walls up. Maybe they've been hurt. Maybe they've been,
Right.
and at that point, maybe you get the agency involved. Maybe you guys have like little talks, but
Yeah.
I don't know. These days, I think you guys have a lot more resources that you can go to, and a lot more of you guys connecting that help each
Yeah.
other. I've seen that a lot too.
well, I'm glad that we did this and we
Yeah.
talked about some good things. And I
Yeah.
think that it's important for surrogates going into it to know that we all hope for the best, but understand that it may not go that way. Because
Yeah.
as we're talking and I'm just kind of reflecting a little bit in my mind,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever thought and luckily it hasn't for me, but I don't think I ever thought that it
Go.
wouldn't be positive in some form, whether that was minimal contact or being BFFs attached at the hip. I felt like it would fall somewhere in that spectrum and
Yeah.
not anywhere that we came out with negative feelings. So I guess it's important to bring awareness to that.
I think it has a lot to do. I think your relationship and a journey has a lot to do with your matching. So if you have any, the term icks, right? If you have any icks nowadays, if you have any small, even if they're small red flags, I would say reflect on those and see, okay, if something were to come up, play scenarios in your head. Okay, if something were to come up, would this red flag raise higher? Like, would it, is this going to be something that's going to go down the line? And honestly, like, I don't think it hurts to ask. I've learned to ask. I've learned to ask in meetings, like, hey, if if A and C were to happen, how would you react? I'm curious. Like, how would we move forward? How would you feel? What would you want to happen? Because I think that the match call, yeah, it's great. You can have all these wonderful connections. You guys can get along. You guys can be great people. But if you, and you can align on a lot of things, but if things were to hit the fan, what would happen? Like, it's always those hypotheticals, especially nobody likes to talk about the termination part of it. Like, everybody just skips over it, but it's a possibility, and it's important to talk about it, and it's talk about the hard stuff first, and then go and then have a good time with some laughs, and you won't even remember that you talked about the hard stuff. It'll be fine. That's
That
my
was the very
Mhm.
first question they asked in my match call. They said,
Stop it.
let's just do this question. We knew it was going to happen, and then we can talk about the fun stuff.
Nice.
Termination was first, and how many embryos was second. And
Okay.
then we got to talk about the fun stuff.
There
I
you
kind
go.
of like that.
Oh,
Yeah, get it out.
yeah.
Get it out of the
But
way.
it's also like you don't really like you think we should be talking about it because it's going to be in the contract. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, but as a first time surrogate,
Mhm.
you haven't seen a contract. You're kind of
Scary.
going off of what you've seen and all of that stuff. So that's another hard thing to do too. Especially like if you're a surrogate that hasn't really seen bad stories like out there, you know?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like
Yeah.
you're kind of just like in this kind of bubble, you know what I mean? So it's like because I don't follow every surrogate in the world, you know what I mean? So I don't
Yeah.
know everybody's stories, you know?
For sure.
And like Grace was saying, stories kind of collide together and you be forgetting who's what and where and all this stuff. So um, but yeah, I think also just asking around and seeing, you know, other people if they've heard of any stories, you know, just to kind of get a feel, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, surrogacy ain't all cupcakes and rainbows, you know?
I also think it's hard to place yourself in the position of termination. Like, am I even going to be in that position of maybe having to terminate a fetus? Am I
Mhm.
even going to? And they really get to decide. And so I remember when I was signing my contracts, and this pertains to the triplets, I didn't even think I'd ever be in that situation. So I was like, of course they have the right. Of course they can tell me what to do. Of course they can. That was my second journey. I knew the ropes. I knew what was going on. I'm like, I'll never be in that position. So why is it? Gosh darn it, we were in that position, and literally they were going to terminate one, and I didn't know what to do. And it worked out. We had all three, but I know you can say put yourself in that position, but I was like, never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just
You don't
it's hard to place yourself in that position until you're really in that position.
In
And
it,
then you're
yeah.
like, wait a minute, I would never, right? Yeah. It's hard.
Mhm.
And I know you can do the what ifs, but it's just, and these days they're only putting in one, maybe two, if you all agree.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of that's really not going to happen, but you can terminate for other reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Scary.
It is. And I also think that it's important to know and accept that if you, especially a first time surrogate, you're going into this and you want to have a good journey and you want to have a good relationship, but also you might have to eventually accept that, oh, this relationship isn't the one that I wanted, and that's okay because I'm still doing what I wanted to do, and that was help a family grow. So even though the relationship's not going to work out, what you signed up to do is.
Right.
And I think you just have to constantly. I was preaching that to myself for like 9 months. I was like, that's all I gotta do. I signed up for it, right? I did this for this reason. This innocent life has nothing to do with it, and I'm here for him or her. Like, that's what it is. And so
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to accept, but it's okay. And you got people out here that have been
Yeah.
in the same shoes. I promise you. Promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like Ellen was saying with her journey, it can start off good. Everything was
Mhm.
good. It was great.
It was great.
But then just one thing, happens and it can just,
So
you
sad.
know,
Yeah.
And I
end
just
up
don't
not the
think
best.
in this day and age that it would get to that quickly. Like there'd be people intervening. There would be, and it was 20 years ago, guys. So it was
No, yeah, but
just a
still.
way different way to do it. And the IPs that's where everybody rallied around. The surrogate was, I hate to say it, but just the carrier. It has
Back then, yeah.
completely done a 180, and I'm so glad. So glad. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if just the
Those are
clinics can act that way, that'd be great. Because sometimes they treat us like we're just a surrogate. And I walk out this
Incubator.
damn
yeah.
office right now. Oh, but baby
Yeah.
steps,
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah, baby.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
good.
I hope this was
That was
helpful
nice little.
Yeah.
to people.
It's a hard topic.
I hope so too.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your journeys, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And
Sure.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Grace, good luck. Sticky vibes.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
know.
You'll be pregnant when this
so excited.
airs. OMG.
No.
Girl, you're gonna be having your transfer on Wednesday. I'm gonna be having my freaking genetic consultation that I need to have on Wednesday. It's gonna be
No.
Well, good
there's
luck.
just a
to
lot
you
going on
too.
this week.
Yeah. But I was
Yay.
telling
Good.
Kennedy recently, this is going to be our year.
Yeah.
We're leaving 2023 behind. This is the year of good things.
I know. So
Yes.
many
Yeah.
people had such
Absolutely.
a crummy 2023. 2024 is the year. That's it.
Yeah.
So good luck.
I'm
to
trying
both of
to bring in the good vibes, you know what I mean? Like, and it's
Hard.
hard to not
Hard.
go down that rabbit hole of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because my transfer was so traumatic, and that's what I'm scared of. And
Mhm.
the wording that the clinics have used kind of got me like, if y'all don't got faith in yourselves, how am I gonna have faith in you?
Aw.
So,
For
but
sure.
we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Good luck.
But yeah,
I know.
Positive, positive.
Good
Yes.
luck.
Good
Keep
luck.
us
Thank you.
posted.
Yes. Have a
I
good
will.
combo,
Grace,
Rachel.
you got this.
Yeah.
Eat your pineapples if you're not allergic.
And your
Drink your
McDonald's
juice.
fries.
McDonald's fries.
McDonald's fries.
They
Got 'em.
they should really team up with somebody in surrogacy and be like, this is it. If you have a transfer, you get free
The
fries.
thing.
Like that's
They
what they should do.
should.
They should. Everybody would love them.
it. They could have
For
two
real.
fries and a little baby fry. And then,
Oh my
this is
gosh,
what
how
happens on their
precious.
box.
Oh, that's
Well,
all we
thank you,
got.
ladies.
Thank you for
Bye.
having
Bye. Have
us.
a wonderful night.
You too. Talk to you
Thank you.
later.
Talk to you later. Well, thank you so much, ladies. This was, I hope, helpful for at least somebody out there with relationships. And I mean, there's 1,000 different ways that they can go and be. And
Relationships with the IPs and the surrogates, that individual little grouping, it's going to be unique to that grouping, right? And so
yeah.
you just have to learn and grow and cultivate and just be open and just communicate. That's all we can say.
Yeah.
It's
And remember
you're
why
going-
you
Yeah.
signed up. Remember why
Right.
you chose to be a surrogate. And like
Right.
that's the main thing. And if you get a friend out of it, it is a huge bonus. And I think it's great and
Yeah.
lovely, but sometimes you just part ways at the end of it, and that's okay,
You do.
especially if they're international. It's really hard to stay in touch.
It
But
is. And they're going to be new parents and they're going to be keep going and they're going
Yeah.
to be doing all of their stuff.
dealing with the
But
newborn
Yeah.
and parent life, everything like that.
we
So
also realize that it's a new relationship for the IPs too. They don't want to
Yeah.
say anything wrong. They don't want to do anything wrong to hurt your
Right.
feelings or step on your toes, especially
Right.
if you're pregnant and your hormones are raging. Like we
Yeah.
take things differently. So
Totally.
work through it, guys. Just work through it.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's worth it. Mhm.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, Otherwise, we wouldn't be like 3-time surrogates each
For sure.
for
For
sure. And we wouldn't talk about surrogacy 24/7 for
Yeah,
sure.
well,
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody has any questions or would like to share their story with us, please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Stop.Sit.Surrogate. And this has been another episode of Stop Sit Surrogate Friday Facts with Kennedy and Ellen.
bye everyone.
Bye.